So, gentlemen, Zibloid, Lord of the Dark Vectors, and his Brilloid sting ships are upon us. They are an elite force of Trevuglian dongloaders, superbly trained on this. Starwing from Nintendo. With its new FX chip, which allows near-perfect simulation of all types of deep space combat. What is it? Sir Richard?
The Super Nintendo is without doubt my favourite console of all time, and it was filled to the brim with some of the greatest action-adventure and role-playing games ever made. One of the biggest players on the console was Square, now known as Square Enix, and I've played bucket loads of their games. From Secret of Mana and Evermore, Trials of Mana, Super Mario RPG, Chrono Trigger, and of course the small matters of Final Fantasies 4, 5 and 6. The Enix side of the equation has sadly largely passed me by. Sure, I'm aware of the Dragon's Quest series, but I've never played any of them, which is a shame. When watching internet top 10 videos on YouTube, one game from Enix which is constantly lauded is a game that never came out in North America. That game is Terranigma. Terranigma forms part of an unofficial trilogy with the better known Soul Blazer and Illusions of Gaia, but it's Terranigma that's largely regarded as the cream of the crop. But as you know, I'm not one for accepting a reputation at face value. The game doesn't start in a spectacular way. Character wakes up in bed, which seems to be a requirement for all action RPGs, and then it's all about wandering around talking to people. But then Chapter 1 does form a little bit of learning as for what's to come. First thing that strikes you is the graphics and sound are right up there with the best of the genre. And also I have a jump button. Nice. My character is Ark, and he's a bit of a dick. Early tasks include getting screamed at for smashing a pot, apologising for my behaviour, and then smashing down a door leading to a room I was specifically told not to go in. I suppose it's nice to have a guy who's not really a typical cookie cutter hero. Behind the door is a jewellery box which begins to glow and fly. Rather than getting out of there, Arch touches the box, releasing Yomi and giving Ark one of the game's major gimmicks. Ark can go inside the jewellery box, where he can use items, change armour and look up hints and tips. You would have thought that would slow the pace of the game down, but in practice it works pretty well. Because I've opened the door, something has frozen everyone in the town, and the elder who is out for a walk when he gets back is not particularly pleased. Like I said, Ark is a dick. So the only way to save the townsfolk is to battle your way through 5 towers. From the start I was loving the overworld map, which really takes advantage of Mode 7. Pardon the pun. The 5 towers are not going to put up much of a fight, and the puzzles with a few minor exceptions are pretty basic. I breezed through them all without really breaking a sweat. Every tower you complete, more townsfolk get unfrozen and various continents rise. This is a first for me. A game that actually appears to be involving the planet Earth? It's at this point you reach the boss of the 5th tower that the game really gives you some insight as to what's to come, with a really tricky battle against a proper beast. I struggled a bit, probably because I wasn't expecting the difficulty spike, but I put the Shadow Keeper to bed and the town is saved. The adventure is far from over though, as the Elder tasks Ark with jumping through a hole which will take him to the surface, a barren land which was once full of life. Why he'd picked the guy who endangered the town to do this, I'm not sure, but off we go to Chapter 2. Chapter 2 is where the game really does go up a level. I didn't come into this with any guide, so I started to discover key aspects of the game. We saw something similar in Ancient Story of Thor, but aside from the regular attacks and speed attacks, you also have the jump attacks, and running jumping attacks. The running attacks add more damage, but are harder to hit, while jumping attacks are required to hit certain enemies. It's like Story of Thor on steroids. This isn't a criticism, as you can only get so much out of the Super Nintendo's audio chip, but when I came to the land of El Climata, there certainly was some familiarity. As you go through, you pick up XP to strengthen your characters, along with a host of weapons and armour. New equipment helps you solve ever more difficult puzzles, such as giant leaves that allow you to swim, or the sharp claws that enable you to climb walls. You may also receive items that may allow you to swim in poison water, or become immune to ghosts. Chapter 2 is full of variety, whether it's fighting through poisonous caves to save the Ra tree, rescuing the birds by taking on a perilous mountain, or by releasing the animals by negotiating a perilous maze. One place where the game really stands out is the boss battles. Each one is unique, well thought out, and doesn't rely on gimmicks such as what element is required or what object you picked up last to fight it with. The final part of Chapter 2 leads you to restore humans to the world, which opens up Chapter 3. It also means you can no longer talk to plants and animals. Knowing humans in the real world, maybe sticking to talking to plants and animals would have been the better option. On the more positive side, zombies! Terranigma may be considered short by today's standards, but is without doubt a classic. It may not be as good an RPG as Secret of Mana or as good an action adventure as Link to the Past, but not many games are. It's a quite brilliant hybrid between the two, with more ingenious attack variations than either. How this is not currently available on the Switch to buy is a travesty. However, there is currently an online petition from the original creators to do a remaster. Go and sign it right now, and Square Enix, my money is sat here ready for you to take.